Does Jannik Sinner have a serve problem? Not really. When you look at the ATP Tour serve stats, he ranks number 3 in the world in serve statistics that compile a bunch of different numbers together. However, when we look a little bit deeper into those numbers, we do see some interesting stats regarding the Sinner serve. So, without a shadow of a doubt, Jannik Sinner has the best hold game on the ATP Tour. He's extremely difficult to break. However, if you watch the Sinner match in Cincinnati against Diallo, which he won with a very tight second set, where he had to save set point with a return that hit the baseline, he was struggling on his serve, and he actually practiced his serve after the match at 10 p.m. So there is a problem, and the stats reveal the problem, and that is Jannik's first serve percentage. If you take the top 10 serves in the world and you look at their overall stats, Jannik Sinner has the worst first serve percentage in the top 10. And if you look at only the first serve percentage, Jannik Sinner ranks 57 on the ATP Tour. So for sure, Jannik Sinner's first serve percentage could be better. Earlier this year, I released a video describing Jannik Sinner's intricate serve rhythm. And a couple of weeks ago, I made a short form version of that video where I illustrated Jannik Sinner's intricate rhythm. And there were some interesting comments underneath that video. And people were saying this rhythm is not intricate, he has a textbook serve. So of course, Jannik Sinner has a textbook serve. He is number 3 in the world in serve stats. His serve is absolutely amazing. However, the rhythm is very intricate. It doesn't look intricate when you watch him play, but if you tried his rhythm, you would soon realize that this is a very difficult rhythm to pull off. So let me quickly tell you what Jannik Sinner does. So Sinner starts bending his front leg as he's initiating the toss. So this is the movement that starts the intricacies. He also takes his racket back. So as he's shifting the weight forward, bending his front leg and tossing the ball, the racket is in the lag position, and it is then when he pulls up that back foot, and he then proceeds to take his racket up into the trophy face and then unleashes his serve. While this looks fluid when he does it, this is very intricate and extremely difficult to pull off. And I want you to try this out the next time you're on the practice court. So bend the front leg as you're tossing, and then you're going to pull the back foot up as the racket is sitting in the lag position. And once both feet are together, it is then when you're going to take the racket up into the trophy face. Let me try it out. Very difficult to pull off. It is a very intricate rhythm that, in my opinion, can cause some inconsistencies. Now, here's the complex thing. An intricate rhythm doesn't necessarily cause inconsistencies. One of the most intricate rhythms on the ATP Tour, if not the most intricate, is Carsten Braasch. I'm not sure if you remember him, but he was a lefty, and he had an extremely intricate service rhythm. But I grew up in the same state that Braasch is from, and I've seen him play many, many times, and Braasch has always had that serve. So if someone has an intricate rhythm that's been executed for a very long time, ideally starting in juniors, for example, Andy Roddick adapted also a very intricate rhythm, very abbreviated. He started doing this fairly early on in his junior career, and he continued serving like that forever. Then this intricate rhythm can be delivered very consistently, and it's unlikely to cause problems. However, as we know, Jannik Sinner has tinkered with his serve. And while he is serving well, it is clear that the biggest issue on his serve is the consistency on his first serve based on those stats that I provided to you in the beginning of the video. And just the sheer fact that Jannik Sinner is practicing his serve at 10 p.m. after a match tells you that there are things that he can improve. But I want to speak more generally what players can do to increase their first serve percentage. So I am always in favor of players experimenting. If it wasn't for experimentation, Andy Roddick would have never found that intricate serve that he had, and he was one of the best servers of all time. So I'm all for experimentation. You might find something that just clicks. The rhythm on the serve is something that can be adjusted. And let me in detail tell you what I mean by rhythm. So that's how you sync the toss arm with the hitting arm. It's whether you are going to go up together with your arms, whether you're going to lag the racket, when you're going to pull up that back foot. That's all part of your rhythm. Also your rocking motion where you're going forward, backward, and then back forward. That's all part of your rhythm. The easiest and more continuous timing for that back foot pulling up to the front foot is to do it as the racket's going up into the trophy phase. So on the WTA Tour, you will often see that players are putting their racket up first towards the trophy phase, and then they do an additional movement in the trophy phase, and it is then when they pull that back foot up. This is not wrong necessarily, but it is not optimal by any means. Optimally, what you want to do is pull that back foot up as the racket is going up into the trophy phase. Now the entire serve is synced perfectly and the rhythm is smooth and continuous. Compare that to the Sinner rhythm. He bends as he's tossing the ball up. He then pulls that back foot up, then pulls the racket up, and then unloads into his serve. This is more of a segmented rhythm and it's not as continuous as the most used pinpoint rhythm on tour, which is when that back foot pulls up as the racket is going up into the trophy phase. So what you see often from players that switch between a platform stance and a pinpoint stance is that the place where the back foot ends up is inconsistent. So players that have a pinpoint stance from day one, they usually have a very consistent positioning of that back foot, whether it be on the outside of the front foot, whether it be right behind the front foot, and some players even have it slightly to the left of the front foot. But in any case, there's a lot of consistency in where that back foot ends up. However, in Jannik Sinner's case, there are inconsistencies. So sometimes I see Jannik with a wide gap between his feet, and other times I see a small gap between his feet. There are also small inconsistencies where that back foot ends up. Sometimes it's slightly on the outside, sometimes it's a tad more behind the front foot. So that's for sure something for Jannik to look at, and it makes a lot of sense to have as much consistency in that pinpoint stance as possible. And what's interesting about the Sinner serve is that he has an excellent and very consistent second serve. And the thing about topspin is the fact that it can help you correct mistakes in other parts of your body. So the fact that you are giving the ball topspin is not accentuating the possible issues that Jannik might have because of his intricate rhythm. Because kick serve is generally slower, you're going to get it in more, and the fact that you're applying spin can correct problems in other parts of the body. However, on the first serve, where Jannik is bringing the absolute heat, here it's very difficult to be consistent if there are indeed some inconsistencies in your rhythm. Now, generally speaking, when it comes to players increasing their first serve percentage, it makes a lot of sense to slice more first serves. Goran Ivanišević, one of the best servers in the history of tennis, he sliced a tremendous amount of serves. It makes a lot of sense that when players are missing a lot of serves, to start slicing the first serve. So similar to the kick, the slicer will give you more control because you are putting side spin on the ball. But contrary to the kick serve, you are going to be able to deliver some good heat on the slice because you are going to utilize torso rotation. You're going to make contact more in front of your head. So you're going to be able to rip that slice serve and often hit a service winner or an ace despite it being a more controlled serve. So let me just put this in context. Jannik Sinner had won 2024 US Open. He's won 2025 Australian Open and 2025 Wimbledon. He's ranked #1 in the world. And if it makes sense to just leave everything as is, he is after all ranked #3 in the world in overall serve stats. But I do think it's significant that he's ranked number 57 in the world in first serve percentage. That is something that Jannik definitely can improve on. And when he does, as crazy as this is to say, he's going to be even better and more difficult to break. Can you imagine? He already is #1 in the world at holding serve. He can serve even better.